In This Ring is back. Let's talk about it.
Let's go! This ain't the Rock Life before this game, he stinks!
Oh shit!
It's gone!
By God, we are back.
Woohoo!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of In This Very Ring, right here live on A2D Radio. Holy hell, do we have a lot to talk about. But before we get into it, I am your host. I am the one and only. I am Ritz. I've got the mayor of Toasty Town himself, the one they call Butters, and Two Live Brew, George Cannon Brews, joining us tonight from another restaurant in downtown Atlanta.
You can just call me. You can just call me Mr. Location.
I'm not calling you Triple L. I am calling you Triple L. That's your new name, Triple L. We have Triple H.
Wow, the crickets.
And Triple L. I got a laugh out of Butters. I'll take it.
Don't call me that.
Yeah. In This Very Ring, every single week is brought to you by Body Check Wellness. They're a line of products that promote wellness, balance, and recovery by using the full potential of hemp. They come in extracts, blends, gummies, and topicals. Use promo code A2D for 25% off your order at bodycheckwellness.com. And then you got to check out our doctor, Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC. He's got 2 locations, Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. He's our doc, make him yours. That's Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy. Counseling Center and Sunrise Detox. Many of us and our families deal with mental health and addiction issues. We're happy to support the Counseling Center and Sunrise Detox. If you need help, please call 856-651-8117. Tonight's topic of conversation, AEW put on pay-per-view quality programming this week, and that topic of conversation is brought to you by Alan Foy of eXp Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell a home for a change in career brokerage, contact Alan Foy at 302-682-8820. Boys, let's talk about it. AEW put on Grand Slam this week, live from New York, and we literally, seconds before we went on the air, just finished watching Omega and Bryan kicked off Wednesday night's Dynamite. My God, what a match. We're going to dive right into it. But, Butters, I'm going to start with you. Do you agree or do you disagree?
I really do think they did put on a quality pay-per-view program this week. You split it over 2 days, yes, but you still put on amazing matches between, like you said, you got Kenny versus Bryan, Punk versus Hobbs, Malachi Black and Cody. I mean, you just put on pay-per-view quality match during the week instead of a Sunday, and you didn't even call it a pay-per-view. So I will wholeheartedly 100% agree with the poll.
George, what do you got?
One word, gentlemen. Amazing. The reason why I say that is because, yes, and by the way, I do know I'm an AEW guy. Any of you viewers want to come on here and, get on me and be like, you're an AEW homer, that's completely fine. I really don't care. But, yeah. Amazing. This is the difference between, how can I put it? This is the difference between giving the wrestling fans what they want as opposed to what you feel they need. And of course, y'all know what I'm talking about and who I'm talking about when I say, of course, giving the fans what they think they need. Like this, gentlemen, what we saw this week, this is the wave. This is what the modern pro wrestling fans want. Good, like solid wrestling, telling a simple story, getting you emotionally invested on the edge of your seat, just like we were just a few minutes ago before we kicked it off here on In This Very Ring, and just leaving you with the impression of like, wow, that was a damn good wrestling match. Because that's what we saw with Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson. A damn good wrestling match. No gimmicks, no frills, no nothing. Just two guys going in there, battling it out.
And beating the hell out of each other.
Exactly. For 30-something minutes. And I enjoyed every damn bit of it, man. Classic, gentlemen.
Oh, and like, AEW could have.
On top of the other stuff that happened as well, like Cody Rhodes, Malachi Black, that rivalry, beautifully put together. Although I will say I do have one problem with this whole entire rivalry, and that is I feel like at some point the roles need to change between the two.
And we're gonna dive into that once we talk about the match, right? Because I kind of know where you're going with it, and you kind of see the writing on the wall there. But I have to agree with the poll. But you could because Wednesday night started with Omega and Bryan. They could have done nothing else the rest of the show, and I would still agree to this poll question because George, you make a great point, right? It was a wrestling match. Yes, you had Don Callis at ringside in his dumbass pink suit. Yes, you had probably one of the, like, oh my God, the commentary just annoyed the hell out of me about the last 10 minutes of that match, right?
I couldn't, I didn't hear nothing,
But it was literally just pure wrestling. And that's what was so much fun to watch, right? We weren't, and we knew nothing was, on the line. It wasn't for a title. It wasn't for nothing. This was just truly two of the absolute greatest of our generation, of our time, going out there and doing what they do best.
Absolutely.
So you have to agree. And then, right, then you realize what they do afterwards with Ruby and Britt, CM Punk and Hobbs, Cody and Malachi, and all these other matches that take place, even the Super Click versus Christian and the Jungle Express, last night, right? Yeah, today's still Saturday.
last night.
Today's still Saturday.
Yeah.
It was a very long day, a very boring day. It was a very long day.
We'll give you that, Ritz. Don't worry about it. We'll give you that, Ritz.
But it's just, they literally took everything and rolled with it and never stopped. And they just hit every single mark that they needed to hit with this week. And they're still riding that wave. And it's said in the show description, if you're watching this on YouTube, we've got that little show description that we always have. And I write it. And they're still riding that all-out wave because of how incredible All Out was. And everything that they took from that night, we're still seeing everything like that play out these last few weeks on AEW TV. And it's been so much fun to sit back and watch and enjoy. And, because don't get me wrong, I was very, very hesitant on AEW at the beginning. And I really give them a hard time, especially when they're like the NFL of wrestling companies, where everybody's got to be with somebody and have this faction and this team and this group and this pairing, right? But it's the stuff that's happening now, and even back then, but the stuff that's happening now, they're really finding their rhythm. They're really finding their groove. They're really hitting every single week, And in my opinion, and I've said it on WWE shows, AEW shows, you don't have to hit all show all night long, right? But you have to at least there needs to be something I can take away from your show. Why did I invest my time into your product? Okay, I invested my time because I wanted to watch Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson take up a fourth of your airtime, right? last night I wanted to watch the Super Click, the 6-man tag. That was the match, the highlight match for me. Right? It may not be the highlight for everybody. Other people will easily say CM Punk and Powerhouse Hobbs.
No, that match was fun. That was a fun match.
No, I agree, right? But for me, it was more Adam Cole and Douchebag 1, Douchebag 2, and the Young Bucks against Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Christian. And more so, yes, I'm an Adam Cole fan. I love what Adam Cole does with everything he touches. But it's more, I'm a Jungle Boy fan. I love this kid. I love everything that he does. And especially after he had his match with Kenny Omega, I was like, no, this is the kid you got to watch. He's a Sammy Guevara. He's an MJF. He's the future of this industry. I'd rather watch that. And I as much as Punk Hobbs was a good match, and we'll break it all down later, but it just wasn't. It's not the match for me. Right? I'm not a Hobbs guy. I just he's a flat character for me. There's not a lot there, in my opinion. But again, that's just me. But let's get into it. Let's get into Omega, Bryan Danielson. They go to a 30-minute time limit. And, hell, before we do that, we got some comments flying in here. We got Chrome. Hey, fellas, just dropping in to say, hey, what's going on, buddy? He does agree to the poll. He says Ruby and Britt was great, too. I haven't seen all of Rampage. He's about to put it on right now. You're going to enjoy it. From what I caught, it's great. Kevin Dixon, what's up, fellas? He agrees to the poll as well. Pete Evans chiming in, and he agrees to the poll. Frank Vespi chiming in. He agrees to the poll. Hey, yo, sorry to bother you at work. Pete Evans says, best AEW set from a production look-wise. Jake Friel, what's up, fellas? I agree to the poll. He hopes I had a great time at Disney, and I did. It was phenomenal. I'm pulling a Chrome next year, and I'll be there twice. By the way, Chrome, if you're still watching, we're going to have a conversation very soon. Anthony, would love to see a collective pay-per-view between the two. I think that would blow the world apart. I actually do want to touch on this a little bit later on in the show. A lot of images have been floating around the internet wrestling community of an AEW versus WWE kind of Survivor Series style card. And I'd love to get our thoughts, the fans' thoughts on that as we progress through the show. And Dayshaw, I hope I said that right. He agrees to the poll as well. Thank you for joining us, Dayshaw. And Anthony, those are two names I haven't seen hanging out with us lately. But let's get right into it. Omega Danielson, we just finished watching it right before we came on the air. And I don't know what else to say about it other than it was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, big time. I mean, so much back and forth, but it wasn't a bad back and forth. It was great. It was, you let one's getting the upper hand, and then it's just counter, reverse it, back the other way, upper hand, reverse it, back and forth. It didn't get boring. It didn't get stale. You stayed interested in the match. They kept the interest going. They kept you into it, making you think, is he going to get for the pinfall now? Is he going to get it now? Is he going to get it now? It's that match that just keeps you going.
I agree. I'm gonna tell y'all something. It's funny how before a lot of I guess pro WWE fans before it was even the AEW, it was funny how I would hear some pro WWE fans just completely just shit on independent wrestling or the independent style and say oh, it'll never work on a national stage or anything like that. And then you see these guys the Adam Coles, the Bryan Danielsons, the Kenny Omegas, the Seth Rollins, the Claudio Castagnolis, aka Cesaros. It's funny, you see these guys come up from these ranks, even John Moxley from this independent arena, and make this style of wrestling so prevalent and so influential to now they're thriving so much in these major companies respectively that they're in. And what we saw on Wednesday is just a testament of that. It's just the fact that this fast-paced, in your face, hard-hitting style of wrestling, or the independent style as people like to label it, they've proven that it can flourish on a national stage, because that's what we saw, gentlemen. Like,
I completely agree. And as a pro WWE guy, right, I can't sit there and say that I was I never once said, oh, that'll never work on a national stage. The independent, stuff, just, it doesn't connect with everybody. What I would always go to was specific instances in what you see in independent wrestling, right? Because with independent wrestling, you're going to see stuff that you're going to go, there's no way in hell that's ever going to work, right? But when you get these, the matches, and you got to call them wrestling matches, right? Because some of these matches, while yes, they're great, you and I both know, George, that on a national level, that style of match just won't work. What we saw from Omega and Bryan Danielson is a style of match that does work and will work.
Yes.
And the men that you listed just a moment ago, all of those are people that have gone out there and put on those matches, right? I've said it, I'll say it again, and Blue Devil over here agrees with me. Too many super kicks and middle fingers. Where I have the issue is people like the Young Bucks, where they had a solid thing going in the independent scene, and they had them or don't like them. And lately, I don't like them, and even in the independent scene, I didn't really like them. But they had a cult following, and when they got to the dance, when they got to the big show, they kind of fell away from that following. And you mentioned it tonight. About one of them wearing
their head got too big.
Yeah, about one of them wearing a romper. And I get it, right? It's all character. It's all, it's the characters that they're playing. But I'm comparing character to character. And when you look at the two characters, it's like, why did you change so drastically from what people know you as, right? Because when you come up and you change, it doesn't always work, Because, yes, the Young Bucks, they are the EVPs. They are, what's the word I'm looking for here? They are, they have that cult following. They are internet darlings.
Do you feel this is how you word it, a Nash Hall NWO, like WCW type, change in them?
No.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't, because Nash and Hall, that change when they went from WWE to WWF to WCW, that change worked for them, right?
Well, I'm more talking about the backstage ego. I'm talking more like the ego stuff. I'm not talking.
Oh, see, I wasn't going there. I was going character.
Okay. No, I'm not talking character-wise.
Character to character.
I feel like this is more of their personality now. It's what I'm.
See, I don't watch enough of the Being the Elite, and I don't follow them enough because they're a gimmick to me. Right?
Well, and that's what I'm saying. It's like
I could agree with that. I could agree with that, Andy.
I feel like the Elite's getting more of, into the NWO, like it's eventually,
But that's what the Elite was, though, right? And like go back to when the Elite was the Bullet Club in New Japan and even Ring of Honor, right? That's what they were. So all you're seeing now is everybody just coming back and they're reforming what, for lack of a better phrase, was the glory days for these people, right? And not that these people are out of their glory days, but with the Young Bucks, they were such a gimmick tag team, arguably one of the best tag teams in the industry today, tomorrow, and yesterday. But they based so much of themselves on a gimmick that when you're on that national level, your gimmick doesn't always work.
Now, let me intervene. Intervene on this because you make a very good point there, Rich. Now, I'm a Young Bucks fan myself. I remember them going back to the
Real
even
fast,
the
George,
TN
I'm going to pause you for just 1 second. I want to
Okay.
give Chucks a shout out. I want to agree to Deshaun that it was a 5-star match. I want to give Andrew a shout out. That is my boy. He was chef. He did a lot of producing for us back in the day, and I want to give a special shout out to his little girl. She turns 2 tomorrow.
Oh boy, already?
Yeah,
Dear
I
God.
know, it's fucking crazy. And Damien says, "What's up? What's up, Damien?" All right, George, go
What's
ahead.
going on? Yeah. So what I was saying is, like you, I'm a Young Bucks fan too. I remember them going back to the TNA days when they were Generation Me, and they were, still coming up in the business, and they were good even back then. But seeing from where they came from to where they are now, I do have to agree with you that yes, this portrayal of them now in AEW, even before they turned heel, was a little over the top for me. It was a little bit too cheesy, a little bit too wink, wink, tongue in cheek. Using some of the insider stuff and all of that. That kind of got a little bit too much for me. Now, as far as the in-ring stuff, they are flawless. Like tandem offense, like all of that. The whole
Just go back to their
enchilada.
match with the Lucha Bros, and that
Absolutely,
tells you everything you need to know.
absolutely. But as far as what that one person was saying about too many super kicks and middle fingers, yes, that does. Yes, Seals, I believe is Seals Blue Devil.
I'm
He
still
is
calling Blue Devil.
Blue Devil. He is definitely on point about that because yes, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that it's being incorporated into a lot of these matches now. But yeah, sometimes I get super kick overload, and I'm like, come on, guys, y'all went to wrestling school. I'm pretty sure your trainers trained you to do a lot more than just a super kick every 5-10 seconds in a match. Like,
Well,
come on, like
and
what
it
are we
also
doing here?
goes back like
It's like, did y'all learn from John Cena?
But jump in the way back, your way back machines, and let's go back to the late '90s, the early 2000s. Not everybody was doing a super kick, and the super
Right.
kick was special. It was like a cutter. It was you had the diamond cutter.
Yep.
And then Randy came in and he did the jumping cutter. He's the only
RKO.
yeah, which is an RKO, right? But it's a jumping cutter. Not many people were doing that. Now it's all over the place. Cutters are happening all the time. Sling blades are happening all the time.
Yep.
Right?
Mhm.
Some of these moves that were special aren't special anymore. And you've taken something like the Sweet Chin Music
Mm-hmm.
and you have just said it's no different than a clothesline. Right? JBL's clothesline from hell, it was special because one, it was the only clothesline he'd ever throw in a match.
Mm-hmm.
And two, it always had that swing. There, you could tell when JBL would throw the clothesline from hell versus when D'Lo Brown would go and just hit a clothesline off of somebody.
Yeah.
Personally, I think Barry Windham had the most beautiful looking lariat in
Agreed.
pro wrestling. That's just
Agreed.
me. That's just me.
Not many people will remember Barry Windham's lariat, right?
Right.
I had a better shot of people understanding the clothesline from hell.
I'm a real pro wrestling fan, baby.
No,
I grew up in the 90s when we had those WCWs at center stage.
No,
I was 3-4
I
years
agree, right? I agree with all of that, but a lot of people aren't going to say, "Oh, Barry Windham."
I
Right?
was gonna say
You and I are probably the only two. You, me, and Chrome are probably the only three that are going to go Barry Windham this.
Right. True.
But so, and that was the other thing to bring it back to Grand Slam. That's what I really liked about the match, is everybody stayed away, right? Nobody interfered until the match was over.
Mm-hmm.
And literally seconds after the match is over, Bryant's going for the label lock. Out comes the super click, right? Out comes the elite to break it up. And then you get Christian Cage, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus to come out to make the save, to help set up the story for Friday night, right?
Mm-hmm.
So many components, but they let these two go out and have the match that they should have had.
Yep.
Right.
And that's the beautiful thing. And that's the beautiful thing about AEW. Like, that's the thing that I love about it is like, yeah, I know the obvious is, the creative control, and Tony Khan actually lets these guys go out and do their thing and call their own shots and, have the matches that the fans want to see. But the thing that I love about it is like what you just said, Rich. It's like the handcuffs are off. Like, it's no restrictions. It's like you can't do this move because we feel butthurt about this or we feel a certain way about this. Like Tony Khan,
Or
is
it's
like,
you got to do it our style.
right. Tony Khan is like, y'all are professional wrestlers. Y'all are seasoned professionals. I trust y'all. I'm gonna give y'all the keys to this car. Just go cruise around however long you need to, and just don't crash it. That's it. That's it.
Exactly. But
That's
in
it.
that same sentence, though, and this is where, the WWE nationalist in me comes out to play, right?
Okay.
AEW has such a distinctive style, right? And and I've said it ever since day one, that AEW had great matches. While I may not have liked the storylines early on, I may not have liked the dynamics early on, I couldn't argue that the wrestling was good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at WWE, and WWE, good, bad, or indifferent, has their own style.
They do.
And whereas if you go back to the days of WCW and WWE, the wrestling was very, very similar.
It was.
Right?
It was.
But now, but the storylines are so drastically different.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while WWE still does put a lot of emphasis on the story and the interviews and the segments, you look at the wrestling, and the wrestling on both sides is good, but so drastically different.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I love so much about it, because you got everybody over here in AEW doing that and doing these 5-star matches. There are still guys over in WWE that are killing it.
And I was and I'm glad that you said that, because I was going to say, look, this week, matter of fact, not even this week, the past couple of weeks, I give WWE major salute. Like the MSG show, Monday Night Raw this past Monday, hell, SmackDown is really the only show that I'll really watch from WWE, like SmackDown and NXT.
Yeah.
But WWE has, in their own right, been on fire as of late. Like, listen, I'll give credit where it's due.
Yeah. And we said it coming off of SummerSlam, right? SummerSlam and that entire weekend, it felt like, and to make it this is a sports channel, to give it that sports analogy, it felt like, kickoff for the NFL. It felt like opening day for the MLB. It felt like all of those, but for wrestling.
Yeah.
And if we do that every year, if you give me one weekend where in August where we hit it on all cylinders and we're going to run and gun till April, I'm happy.
Yep.
Yeah.
You ain't going to hear me bitch at all.
Because
I'm good at it.
Well, I mean,
you won't hear me bitch at all.
You could consider between April and August the off season, so it slacks a little. Of course, everybody's gonna bitch. Hey, what about the product? But then, like you said, if it fires on all cylinders in August,
and you see people change teams and people get released and cut, like it acts like an off season.
Yep.
Right.
And we've got to, granted, here we are a few weeks.
I never thought about it that way.
Right, but. See, and Greg's right. Oh, stop it. You'll still be bitching. And I said it. I will still find something to bitch about.
I'm
very good at it. Right? But here we are. And we're going to talk about it towards the end of the show. We're going to preview the WWE draft that starts, next week. But here we are a few weeks in the season and we're doing a draft. Right? And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it that way from a WWE standpoint, because we're going to shake things up a few weeks in. And there's just so many. Being a wrestling fan is so much fun right now. And I know we got off on a little bit of a tangent where we're not really talking Grand Slam. We haven't made it out the first match.
Right.
But look at what that match says about the business as a whole.
Now.
And what it now. And what it makes you go, okay, AEW just did that for 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Let me compare it to 30 minutes of Raw, which the first 30 minutes of Raw was great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this past Monday night, because it was the Big E stuff. It was the 6-man tag.
Yep.
You know, a very highly anticipated 6-man tag match. That was very good, which led to a better main event Monday night. Like, there was just so many components to that. It was fantastic. And you really can't argue or complain about what we got when it comes to this era of pro wrestling right now.
That's true. That's
you know,
so true.
And a symbol of this era of pro wrestling, I say symbol, right? A cornerstone, because I'll give the man credit where credit's due. 7-8 years ago, when this guy was white hot, this was the kind of stuff he was doing, and that's CM Punk.
Mm-hmm.
And CM, like him, love him, hate him, wish he was dead. The next segment goes to CM Punk. He walks out and he goes, "Damn, I'm really glad I ain't wrestling tonight because there's no way I wanted to follow that."
Right?
He calls it right down the middle, and
that's a shoot.
Yeah, it's 100% a shoot. And he immediately transitions. He gives them credit where credit's due. He talks about himself and then goes into setting up his match for Friday.
Mm-hmm.
All in a few sentences, right? And he's very just steady in his comments to Powerhouse Hobbs. And he says, where's the line?
It's not my job to wake you up, but Powerhouse Hobbs, you're going to go to sleep.
Exactly. Right? There's the line. I couldn't find it on here. But, and then walks the fuck away.
Yeah.
Here we are now. That's probably, what, an hour? Almost an hour of TV time.
Mm-hmm.
Half of your show taken up, and you had a 30-minute slobber knocker, and I can't believe I'm going to give JR credit. But you had a clinic, and then you brought out arguably one of the best mic workers around right now to build a match for 48 hours from now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then we transitioned straight into a blood feud between MJF and Brian Pillman Jr.
Yeah. Now, this match, I'll say I guess I'll start off. I guess I can start off with this one. I would pretty much say it was straight to the point. The right person won. What needed to get done got done. The only thing about it, the only kind of question or concern that I have is where does each man go from here? Like, where does MJF just come out and start picking on somebody else? I mean, I know this is going to be a tremendous boost for Brian Pillman's career. I can tell you that right now. And MJF hasn't even hit his 30s, and he's already given out more rubs than a masseuse. So,
damn.
So, I mean, that's really my only question.
I can see this feud. I can see this feud going on a little bit longer, just to kind of, because you can't really say that, you know, yeah, MJF beat Brian Pillman, but Pillman's still going to want that. He still wants payback for what was said about both his mom and his sister.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
And not to mention, you got what's her name was out there with him, Julia Hart.
Oh yeah,
Julia Hart out there. It's, you know, MJF getting in her face, and Pillman's gonna still want blood. So yeah. I can see this going on for a little bit longer, not much longer, but I can still see it going on just a little bit longer.
Now, but as you say that, but the thing you got to remember is if it goes on any longer, what are the stakes now? Is he just fighting for revenge for his family? But what else goes beyond that? Because at the end of the day, it's about wins and losses in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and see that's where it's like I want to agree with you, Butters, but I also want to disagree with you, and I think you let them go their separate ways. They can still come back to this later if they want to. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if MJF weasels his way into some time, like on screen, weasels his way into some kind of time off. I mean, because think about it. He's been putting in the work for the last few months. The man can not, he wouldn't hurt if he took a couple weeks off and let them figure out where to go next, right? Because you can't put him up against Miro because Miro and him, there's no reason to, right?
No, and Miro's white hot right now.
Exactly. You can't put him up against Kenny Omega because it's Omega and Bryan Danielson. So MJF is here, right? And all he's going to do is going to be these little random things. So it wouldn't necessarily surprise me if they continued to have MJF versus Brian Pillman. But you don't need to have MJF versus Brian Pillman. You can still do it if you want to, right? We haven't beat it to the ground. It's not, the storyline's not dead.
Still fresh.
But it's just a matter of what do you really want to do.
Right. And gentlemen, I think we can all agree too, before it's all said and done, I think it's going to be time for MJF to have something shiny around his waist, if you know what I mean.
Completely agree with you. I think by this time next year, we're talking about MJF as some sort of champion.
With them talking about, an Owen Hart tournament in AEW, do we see this being...
Don't you do it. Don't you do it, Butters. Don't you do it.
Do we see MJF winning this one?
Don't you do that. Don't you do it.
It's possible. But,
I mean...
But, all right, I'm going to take that one step further. Your finals.
No.
In the Owen Hart tournament.
Don't do it. I know where you're going. Don't do it, Ritz.
Is MJF.
Oh, my God.
Versus Brian
Pillman.
Jr.
Yeah.
Defending the honor of where his father trained. And can you imagine the nuclear heat MJF gets of winning the Owen Hart tournament and then just taking the trophy or whatever he has and just spitting on it?
Why not? He's won the ring 2 years in a row.
Exactly.
So let's win this tournament and make it even worse. I mean,
and those are the two guys right now. If you said, all right, we're going to kick off the Owen Hart tournament next week, these are the two guys that I see headlining this thing. Right? Yeah. I like Blue Devil's comment here. We've alluded to it all night, and we've alluded to it in the past. We don't expect nothing from AEW, but we expect everything from WWE, and that's where AEW has an advantage. And he's 100% right, and we've talked about it before, right?
I gotta agree.
We have such high standards for WWE that as wrestling fans, we've almost set them too high.
Right.
Where AEW, again, it's still in that honeymoon phase, right? We're letting them find their area, and eventually we're going to put them there, and we're going to say, hey, you guys fucked up too.
Yeah.
Got to give a shout out to the boss, Tom Arnone, my guy. He missed us last week. He says, let's talk about it. Buddy, we're back. We're here. Let's dive right into it. And Ted, over on Twitch, we need MJF to feud with CM Punk. If it's true, these guys have all this creative control. MJF will tear Punk apart in promos. Now,
I disagree. Disagree.
Well, no, I don't. Right? I don't know who would win. What I do know is I'm gonna win. I will 100% sit there with popcorn, soda, and just watch these two go at it on the microphone. It's gonna be. I'm on a Wild and Out kick, right? It's gonna
Tony
be like watching a Wild Style between like Chico Bean and DC Young Fly for the better part of 6 weeks straight.
I'm gonna tell y'all what. For that promo, for that weekly promo battle, I know MJF is gonna attack Punk being out for so long, and he's gonna talk about April. That's where he's gonna go there first. I know where he's gonna go,
and that's gonna bring April out because even though they've all said she's not gonna do it because of her neck and this, that, and the other thing, and blah blah blah, she's doing a Comic-Con thing in like 3 weeks, something like that. It's like her first Comic-Con in years that she's doing.
That's
So
more
something's
ammo.
coming up.
That's
right?
more ammo
I
for
think
him.
I think it's actually the first public appearance she's done since she released her book, and she did that very, very short book signing tour.
Mhm.
Right? But this isn't a book signing thing. This is a true wrestling, I think, convention or something like that she's
Well,
gonna
maybe
be at.
maybe she's getting a little more, wanting to come out a little more now that Punk's back in the ring.
No,
I'm not saying to wrestle or anything. I'm saying maybe it's now that nobody's home, kind of sort of type thing. It's what, maybe I'll get out and do my own thing for a little bit while he's out.
Agree. I completely agree with you. Let's move on though.
That's something I'm looking forward to though.
Completely. Cody Rhodes, Malachi Black, and I know George, you were really wanting to talk about this earlier. I had a great conversation with Jax earlier this week. Actually, right after this match, we were talking about, and I want to throw this to you guys. Malachi Black's appearance is constantly changing. It's evolving, right? Things are getting added to it. So before we break down the match and just how good it was, what do you guys think this is building to? Is he building towards somebody? Or is he building towards a character?
I think he's building towards a character. I think it's more of a character build than it is I think he's trying to lose the WWE image and bring his own AEW image into, or more of his, I guess you call it, indie image, but he's trying to lose that AEW, the WWE image into his own character.
I think it's building to somebody.
Okay.
And y'all know who that somebody is. It's somebody that knows him very well. And that's gotten the very best of him in certain matches. I got 2 words for you. 2022, Buddy Matthews, the AEW. Let's do it.
I don't know.
The ghost of his past. Finally comes. The boogeyman of his career finally comes to get him. And there ain't nothing he can do about it.
Maybe, right? Because the vignettes it would work, right? The vignettes that we've seen from Buddy and everything like that, it would all kind of fit into place. But look at the character. Look at the character changes to him.
I'm trying to tell you.
And none of that screams Buddy to me. Right? So that's what I'm looking at. Like, that's why I like to Butter's point, I agree that it's a character build of some sense.
Maybe a more darker side of it. Something. Maybe it's more of a character that he wanted in WWE, and just the character he was going for before he got released.
Well, but also I think it's more, and I made this analogy the other night. It's like a Skyrim. Like he's in Skyrim, and every time he beats a boss, what are you? Every time he beats a boss, he levels up a little bit. Right? George,
I love the analogy.
This out there, buddy. We can't see you because of that blaring light.
Turn the phone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man.
There we go.
Ted says Tommy End is such a cooler name. And he goes, oh shit, Buddy Murphy, that's genius. No, I agree. Right? I do think it's a smart play. I don't know if I see it, but I don't see it, right? Because none of that, and I'm not 100% familiar with the Buddy Matthews and everything like that, of what he did before his WWE run. So
the story is booking itself, Ritz.
No, it is. When you think about the vignettes that he's doing on Twitter and stuff like that, and how similar they were to Malachi Black's, but it's when you look at the character that they're building around Malachi and how all his appearance is constantly changing, does that fit that? Does that fit that story or not? Is my question.
Like I said, I think it's more. I don't think it does. I think it's more driven to, like I said earlier, character change. If Buddy comes in, I would have to say he comes in as someone Cody brings in to take Malachi Black, because he's taken Malachi Black to the distance before.
And it's and that's another good possibility, right? We lost George as he gets resituated. It looks like he left the restaurant and has transitioned to a new location. We'll get George back in just a little bit, but there's a lot of different ways you can take this. I don't hate, and I know Ted is over here just losing his mind over on Twitch, but I don't hate the Buddy Murphy.
No, not at all. He's such a great talent. No matter where he lands, he's going to do amazing.
Exactly. The match between Cody and Malachi, though, was fantastic, right? Malachi gets to win again. So it does play, Butters, into your comments of,
I'm trying
this
to
is
tell y'all, man, the story is booking itself.
It is. It really, truly is. All right. Because I want to cover Extreme Rules. I want to touch a little bit on the draft.
Yeah, well,
so we're gonna skip some parts of Grand Slam. We're gonna skip the FTR Sting and Darby Allin match. Good match, everything like that. But we're gonna go to the Women's World
AEW Grand Slam
Rules. I didn't know there was an Extreme Rules this year.
Yes, it's Sunday.
Way over that bald head of yours.
I wasn't paying attention to you.
I said I didn't know there was an Extreme Rules this year. If you look at the card.
Oh yeah, no. All right, I get where you're going with that now.
I probably should have made it a little bit more clear, but yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Roman and Balor's in an Extreme Rules match, you dick.
Woo! One match. Everything else is regular matches.
I'm okay with that though.
Come on, it's still, you could have. This the one night you can truly get extreme up in this house, and you have mommy and daddy play extreme, and everybody else can just sit in the back.
No,
at least that's it. Where's my table match? Where's my crazy ass throw a ladder on me through a table match? I don't know. I'm just saying, like the old days, Singapore cane match. I wouldn't say a Punjabi prison match, but something of the caliber match. Come on.
I almost pulled you out of the stream for saying that. But let's finish some AEW talks. Right?
Okay, AEW.
Britt Baker, Ruby Soho. I love the fact that Britt wins this match here. Because we can continue the build. If anybody expected Ruby to win this on her first outing, they discount Britt Baker and they should be shot on sight. Without question, without shoot you now. Okay?
Because we all know where this is leading. We all know where Britt Baker's downfall is going. And if you don't see the writing on the wall, then you've been sleeping.
What'd he say?
Rock.
Who, me or him?
I said we all know where Britt Baker's downfall is going. The writing's on the wall, and if you can't see it, then you've been hiding under a rock.
Completely agree. And I said that if anybody thought Ruby Soho was going to win this match Wednesday night, they discount Britt Baker and they should be shot immediately.
But don't get me wrong, the girls did a good job.
I love that they main evented too.
Yes. I mean, they're trying to get I like AEW's job with trying to get these girls, out there more. They're trying to get them, to show that they're as equal as the men, even though
Well, but even now, like anytime the women, no matter what company it's been, anytime the women have main evented a show, the match has just been fire.
Yeah,
it's been special, right? And not because it doesn't happen often. I think it happens a lot more than anybody expected it to.
Yeah, agreed.
But just because the women do go out there and they respect the main event position so much,
they
that
do,
they
and
give
then
it their all.
I was about to say they give it their all because they also know if they screw up, that could possibly be the last chance that any woman would have to main event.
Right. Let's move over to the hell am I looking for here? Over to Rampage. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
I
so
haven't
we're probably not gonna do a deep dive into it. You know what? Matter of fact, we're gonna save the Rampage deep dive for next week. All I do want to say is CM Punk Hobbs. Everybody loved the match. I love the fact that CM Punk won. Hopefully, they're continuing this
Team Taz,
feud.
CM Punk.
Yeah, this feud with Team Taz and CM Punk.
You got plenty of players on Team Taz you can go with. I mean, come on.
Right. The Super Click wins over Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Jungle Boy as expected. The Inner Circle versus Men of the Year.
Apparently, they had a really good after-match spot.
Where even Tony Khan takes some damage.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to go back and watch that. And that's really all I want to talk about, because we do try to keep within our time limit here. So I do want to transition over to WWE. Spent a lot of time talking to AEW tonight. So let's do that now.
Yep. 100% agree.
Before we get into our Extreme Rules preview, I want to just touch base on a couple things Raw and SmackDown wise.
Yep.
I loved the way Raw opened up this week. I loved Big E and the New Day coming out to celebrate. Big E gets the "You Deserve It" chance. And I actually got super emotional when he goes, he's eternally grateful for those below the heavens and for one incredible soul above. Like, even now as I say it and I'm reliving the moment, I choked up so hard. Because then the place starts chanting Brody, and you saw all the stuff coming out after he won, where it was like Brody looking over Big E as he won the title, and it's just so emotional. You know, and then you have the New Day versus the Bloodline. Phenomenal match.
Great match. You know, even though I was pissed that they put it on Monday night, didn't save it for Survivor Series, but I'll give them credit where credit is due. Great, amazing match.
But I'm okay with some of these matches happening on free TV.
Oh yeah. No.
You know,
100% agree.
I love Lashley coming down at the end of the match and costing Big E essentially costing the New Day the match, and then it transitioning into a triple threat later on in the night.
Correct.
I swear to God, and again, it's just because I am not watching full shows of Raw, SmackDown, AEW, NXT. I watch bits and pieces of things that I like. I didn't know Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax turned on each other.
It was pretty much. I think it was like last week is where it fully got turned.
But till the other day when they said that Nia Jax was going to be out for an undisclosed amount of time, I was like, "Oh shit! When did they split up?"
But I mean, it was a long time coming. I figured they were going to do it during the first when they first lost the tag titles. But I mean, like I said, it's been a long time coming. And with this match they had with each other, they finally showing Shayna's true aggression, bringing out that something that I'm hoping they're going to continue doing and push Shayna, because I think she has the potential to be on top. the potential to shine. Just give her damn time.
Right. No, I agree. Speaking of losing the tag team titles,
Oh, baby.
can somebody in some world explain to me what the hard on is about having the Raw Women's Champion? I'm sorry, not the Raw Women's Champion, but having two former Raw Women's Champions have the women's tag titles.
I don't know.
You ever want to talk about a fucked up odd couple? It's Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley.
But this is what WWE does with tag teams. They put odd couples together and try to make them shine. And 9 times out of 10 and gives them the tag titles. And a lot of times it just works.
Which is fucking insane to me.
Because who would have ever thought, Team Hell No would have worked? It's Kane and RVD or Kane and like some of these random ass tag team combinations.
Trust me, I get it. Ted.
I'll get to that in a minute, Ted. But Nikki ASH made a little bit of history with the women's tag titles because she's the only woman to have those titles 3 times. Yep, I said it.
Okay, I'm going to talk about Ted's comment before you just hurt me. Ted wants to know, what do you guys make of the new NXT? It's got a Nickelodeon feel to it. You know what's really comical about this?
What's that?
I don't 100% hate this.
Oh, I'm liking it. It's got a brighter feel to it. It's got a...
So I actually had oddly enough, I had the revelation last week, right before I left for Disney.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to myself, there's nothing wrong with NXT changing it up, right? Changing the color scheme. The stage looks really good. I had a lot of time to think on the plane.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're sitting on a plane for a few hours. I mean,
yeah.
It's like me at work sitting on a forklift all day. I got plenty of time to think.
I'm not even going to go there with that joke. No. But, I'm okay with it. They didn't make it too campy. They didn't make it too cute. It's just a brighter color scheme, and I'm okay with that.
And the arena is brighter.
The arena's brighter. I like the massive change in NXT because it's been presented the same way for so long. Changing it up, we really didn't change the production that we got. Right?
No.
It's just a look.
They're introducing new characters because they're losing all their talent in NXT, whether it be call-ups or people getting fired.
NXT always goes through these. This is just the most radical change NXT's had.
And what do you think of Braun Breaker, Rick Steiner's son?
Too early to tell.
Okay, first off,
I'm gonna sum up Frank Vespi's.
Yeah, no, that's what I was getting to. Is look at Alexa Bliss's response.
It was short of "go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
Right, because Meltzer's an idiot. Meltzer can suck a dick. And that's the end of it. Right. What I think the problem was, though, like when you go back and watch it, Charlotte played it up a little too much. Right.
With the doll?
Yeah, I don't know if people were 100% believing that Charlotte was invested in it. And the Alexa Bliss stuff is hit or miss week to week. Right. It could have just been very coincidental that, quote unquote, 1,500 people.
And I don't think it was 1,500 people leaving. If anything, it was people going on their piss break, on their drink break.
Because this thing actually goes a lot longer than anybody ever wanted it to.
Yeah, so this isn't 1,500 people leaving. This is 1,500 people going, you know what? This is a great segue for me to go take a damn break for 5 seconds to go take a piss.
Enough about that. You brought up Steiner's Kid. It's too early to tell for me. I want to see more. I don't hate what I see, but I want to see more. And then he brings up Ciampa winning the title. He says it doesn't make sense if you're starting anew. You don't go back to him. You go to a new champ. I don't disagree with you, Ted.
I had the same question.
I don't 100% agree with it either. Here's my only comment to that. Samoa Joe going down was not in the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Let's assume that for a second.
Yep.
So you take somebody like Ciampa, who is established, who can essentially think on the fly, because they're acting on the fly right now, right? At least in the regards of the title picture and what they're going to do moving forward. And whether it's Kyle O'Reilly, whether it's Braun Breaker, whether it's insert name here,
Pete Dunne,
whoever beats Ciampa for the title in probably a few weeks, right? It's going to mean more.
Yep.
Right? Winning. That's why I'm not a fan of multi-man matches, because the winner of that match can't say, "Oh, I beat all three of them."
Well, as I say, it's a good way to, to be a. They could put it on him as a transitional champion without having to put it on somebody, and maybe potentially making them drop it in the next few weeks, like you said.
But it also builds that person's first big feud.
Yeah, because I had that same question of, if they're wanting to build up all these new talent, they don't want to do anything with the older talent, blah, 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 why put it on Ciampa? But like you said, it's a good way to get the belt on somebody. It's a good way to have transition. At the end of the day, it makes a whole lot more sense now than it did when it happened.
So, and then we have, I hope I say this right, Montanez, 1998.
Montanez,
He wants to know, do you think Bray Wyatt or Wyndham is coming next week to AEW? Maybe that's why the Dark Order is fighting each other. I don't know where I saw it. I saw it online where people have been talking about that. And I'm very, very torn. Do I think Bray Wyatt ends up in AEW? 100% I do.
Mm-hmm.
Do I see him taking over a leadership role in the Dark Order? I don't know if I want it. I get why, right? All the pieces fit into place as to why, right? And if you're ever going to say there needs to be a leader of the Dark Order, your only person is Bray Wyatt. I just don't know if I want that or not. Because Brody was special.
Yeah. And I've been hearing people talk about, Bray Wyatt, if he shows up, it's potentially next week. It's potentially, if Bray Wyatt shows up, it would be better to have him show up at whatever Halloween style pay-per-view you've got coming up.
No. Fuck you. No.
Why not? It's the character. Plus, it fits the whole Dark Order theme.
But we don't know what character.
I get that.
He's coming as, right? And I don't want that. I don't want that stereotype with him to be surrounded around it, right? The Dark Order, while yes, it has that. Obviously, it's in the goddamn name. That darkness to it, right? These people are. There's nothing supernatural about them. There's nothing demonic about them, right?
They're just like some evil villain corporation calling themselves the Dark
and they're
Order.
not even evil.
Well, I know that, but I think from the start that's how it was supposed to be, and they just kind of, after Brody, passed, even
leading up to Brody's passing, right? People were getting over, Evil Uno, Silver, all these guys were getting over
That's because these days it's hard to have it.
transitioning.
That's because these days it's hard to have certain people be heels because all of a sudden everybody starts liking them and you're like, well, shit, what the hell do I do now?
Right. So I wouldn't hate it. But you have to bring him in as
The right way.
as just Wyndham, as
Bo Wyndham or however you would call it.
But just him, right? Don't give him any
I get what you're saying.
supernatural gimmick. Don't give him anything, right? And let him, because he's gonna do it. I think
let him be him.
I think he's earned the right to do it, and I think that part of him, and I don't know how. I heard he took Brody's passing very, very hard.
Correct.
Right? So I don't know if he needs this, but let him do a proper tribute to his friend.
Yes.
And let him take, and that's why I'm okay with him taking the group and the people that Brody essentially surrounded himself with and said, I want to be with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And taking them under his wing. That's why I'm okay with it. And Montanez says he's somebody that needs to give a middle finger to WWE. And man, that's your opinion. I 100% agree. I would say 100% agree. I 100% value your opinion. I don't know where I stand on that. I don't think of it that way, because take somebody like Bryan Danielson, who hours before his match against Kenny Omega actually puts out this incredibly heartfelt open letter to WWE thanking them for the last few years of his life and what they gave him and everything like that. And Adam Cole, in an interview shortly after Brian puts that out,
talking about how hard it was to leave.
Yeah, and I can't think of the phrase I want, but shares the same sentiments that Bryan Danielson did. So I don't necessarily say that Bray Wyatt has to give WWE the middle finger.
No,
I think
a lot of it has to go around with these guys didn't want to leave, but WWE really didn't give them much of a choice.
I think with the Bray thing, Bray was he was doing great. Everything was going really, really well. The Brody Lee thing happened. Brody Lee passes. And hold on.
That all aside. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Because I think that plays into it. I think that plays into it a lot. And he took the time off. And I think it was almost mutual of I can't do this right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I know you're cutting people. If you're gonna cut me, do it now, kind of thing.
Correct.
And but that's why I don't know if he's coming back this early. And Rob Brinkman chiming in saying AEW for life. Here comes the negative toxicity that is Brinkman. Brian Wilson, what's up, boys? Wrestling talk, Brinkman says Omega's the GOAT, loves Darby Allin. Roman versus Brock, how predictable. I actually like this Roman versus Brock story that we're getting because I think there's more depth to it than just you have the title, I want the title kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an interesting one. Blue Devil. Imagine Charlotte takes on the Alexa Bliss gimmick with the hair and makeup, partners with Bliss, they become tag champs, Flair's still women's champion, and he'd prefer that over the Rhea Nikki thing. All right, look. Let me put this out there first. I can't say I wouldn't find it interesting to watch. Almost like does anybody remember the Winter Angelina Love storyline from years ago in TNA? Where
oh my god, I think
Winter had like this trance over Angelina Love.
Yes, yep.
I can't say I would 100% hate that because of how good Alexa and Charlotte are. They can make that work.
Mm-hmm.
But Blue Devil, I don't ever want to hear you bring that up ever again, because now that you put it out in the universe, and if it happens, I will find you, and we're gonna have a very long conversation about the shit that you think it's not allowed to come out of your mouth anymore, man. And he goes, just kidding, guys. But you put it out there, so if it happens, man, we're gonna meet back here the week after it happens, and let's talk.
Nothing's worse than my Royal Rumble predictions.
Fuck you. All right.
Real quick. How about this new stable in NXT, Toxic Attraction?
I'm gonna take the unpopular opinion. I don't like Mandy's new hair.
I figured that's where you're gonna go with it. I just had to get your thoughts on it.
I don't know why I don't either, because I'm a Mandy Rose fan, right?
Yeah,
obviously. But when I saw it last week, and I watched it, I think I watched it about 7 or 8 times. Just not on a sense of wow, she looks good, or she's hot, or this, that, or the other thing. I just kept watching it to go, maybe if I watch it, I'll eventually like it.
Well, I think you give it enough time, you probably will.
And don't get me wrong, some of the pictures, some of the screen grabs, some of the whatever, it looks good on her. I won't deny that it looks good on her, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't.
See, and that's why I wanted to ask, because I know how big of a Mandy Rose fan you are.
I like the stable idea. I like what they're taking Mandy Rose and they're letting her build the next generation of women's wrestlers, letting her go down in a time where the women's division in AEW, I won't say it's suffering by any stretch of the imagination, but it needs a locker leader. And not even a leader, so to say. I just need somebody there to help guide and and make sure everybody stays on the straight and narrow. Because
and with people like Candice LeRae fixing to be out, fixing to have birth, and then
and that's why.
And then you're losing all these others to the call ups. So yeah, Mandy Rose makes a whole 100% agreed to be a locker room leader.
Absolutely. Let's talk Extreme Rules.
Extreme crap is what it's going to end up being.
I can't say I'm overly excited for this entire card.
Like, I kind of like, and I probably get slapped for saying it, but I kind of like the inclusion of Jeff Hardy in the United States title match.
Haven't done this in a while. See, I don't like the Jeff Hardy inclusion in the United States title match. Especially after watching. You done saying stupid shit?
Never, but hey, we'll figure it out as we go along,
but
right?
after watching Raw this past Monday night, because actually, I won't lie, we got back to the room after I got back to my hotel after dinner, and after kind of walking around Disney Springs, and I was like, ooh, Raw's still on. Let me see what's happening. This is before I know that the 6-man tag had already happened.
Yeah.
And the triple threat was capping the night off. I'm like, ooh, I wonder if they're getting ready for the 6-man. And I turn it on, and this match is happening. The Sheamus Jeff
versus Hardy. Yeah.
And I got instantly annoyed. Right? Like, I don't need either one of these two. I think Priest against somebody I give a shit about.
Well, I think it's more of there was so much backlash either last week or the week before over Jeff Hardy in the 24/7 title chase that I think they just kind of threw him into this to get everybody off their ass.
Go fuck yourself.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying too.
Because I'm right on this one.
Honestly, I hope Damian Priest comes out on top.
I do too.
Here, Butters, I'm going to make this real simple for you.
Okay.
In the sense of our highlight clip. So 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
and we're just going to rapid fire these to fill our clip.
Oh boy!
All right, so ready?
And yes, give me
3, 2, 1. Damian Priest, Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus for the United States title. I got Damian Priest.
Damian Priest all the way. I'm a big fan of his right now, so keep the title on him.
And it makes sense, right? It makes sense
Correct.
for him. A match I am hopeful for. Like, I'm hopeful for the outcome. Liv Morgan versus Carmella. It's
Morgan.
It's the only non-title match on the card. And this is where I think Liv Morgan needs to take the win here.
Big time.
Okay. The Street Profits versus the Usos for the SmackDown Tag Team titles.
I think the Street Profits take this one finally.
Street Profits, because the Street Profits are up, and we want the smoke.
You bet you believe it. I can't believe I fucked that up.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Shut up. Charlotte Flair versus Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's title.
As much as I want to see Alexa take this, I think Charlotte retains it.
I want Alexa to take this bad. I need it. Right? I think it would just be great. It's that
for that character, it'd be crazy.
Yeah, it's that element that Alexa's missing.
But wait, you have Alexa win it, but then you try to have Nikki take it because it's superhero versus the bad guy.
Right, and we'll
get with that later. But yeah,
Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Becky Lynch all day long. Bianca.
No, Becky's retaining this one easily.
And then Roman Reigns versus the Demon Finn Balor. You know what?
The Demon's undefeated, and with it being an Extreme Rules match, I was kind of hoping it'd be a regular match so that Demon wins by disqualification, Roman keeps the title, and Demon's still undefeated. And with them announcing Brock versus Roman at Saudi, title on the line if Roman retains. Really want the Demon to win it, but we all know Roman's gonna fucking win it.
I think. All right, I'll take the other side of that for pure argument's sake and something for us to bitch about next week. The Demon wins. Brock Lesnar costs Roman Reigns the title, and now it's not a Roman versus Brock for the title. It's Roman versus Brock just to have Roman versus Brock in a revenge blood feud. Paul Heyman's torn in the middle, doesn't know what to do. The Usos now can say that, they can be there's turmoil in the bloodline because the Usos are champs or the Usos aren't champs. Or I think you can go more ways if the Demon wins it. Plus, I like the Demon. I like the fact that the Demon's back, so bite me. 118.
Yep. But, again, and this is what pissed me off, is WWE goes and announces Brock versus Roman at Saudi Arabia, even though we've got Extreme Rules happening right now. But if Roman retains, then it'll be for the title. If not, then it's just going to be a knockdown, drag out Roman versus Brock match that we've seen 1,000 times already.
But that's why you don't need the title. I don't think
Correct.
You need the title involved in this.
And then,
you
like I
don't
said,
want the title.
The Demon's undefeated, so hopefully this means the Demon wins. Because, yes, Balor's taking losses, but the Demon hasn't. The Demon's whooped ass every time.
100%. Ted says, fuck Jeff Hardy because of the roll-up. Blue Devil, Sasha comes, costs Belair the match, protects Becky. I don't think you need to. I don't disagree with you, right? I won't put it past them to do it. I just don't think you need to do it.
No.
Okay. I was gonna cover the draft that starts next week. It starts on the 1st.
Yep, starts on SmackDown. Bet you USA's real thrilled about that one.
But they did it last year like this too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But here's what I want to do instead. We're going to save our draft conversation for next week. What we're going to do next week is we're going to recap Extreme Rules, and we're going to go immediately into a draft recap. And then what we're going to do is we're going to simulate night 2. Right? We're going to make our predictions, and we're going to go through different possibilities. And we're going to talk about the change in the landscape of what WWE is going to look like following night 2. We'll do a lot of predictive fantasy booking next week. There probably won't be a lot of AEW on next week's show, just because we do have the pay-per-view recap that we're going to go over, and then we're also going to go over the draft. So we'll take a break from AEW probably next week. We'll touch on them
unless something big happens.
we'll touch on them very, very lightly here and there next week.
But Extreme Rules is
Extreme Rules is 100% where we're at. So let's kind of I like what we did a few weeks ago where we previewed the entire month. Before we do that, Ted says, you guys think we get a lot of NXT people come draft, aka roster shakeup? I don't know. I don't think we're gonna get a lot, but
I think we get a couple, not too many.
You don't have a lot of people that you can pull from, right? So let's talk about October. Okay, so next week is the 2nd. And like I said, we're gonna do our Extreme Rules recap, and we're gonna do our WWE Draft Night 2 preview. The 9th we'll probably recap Draft Night 2, and we'll further, because we're gonna do our fantasy booking next week. But then once everything's solidified, then we're going to talk about, okay, now that they did this, where does it go from here? What storyline do you want to see when? The 16th is going to be a Crown Jewel preview, because Crown Jewel will happen on the 21st.
Oh, boy.
And the 23rd will be a Crown Jewel recap. Don't be surprised if we throw in a lot of AEW on both of those shows, because we're not sure what Crown Jewel's going to look like. Because we've got one match set up for it.
I think once the draft is over and the dust is settled, they'll rapid fire some matches for Saudi.
And then the 30th is the last Saturday of the month. I have something that I would like to do then. I have to figure out how I want to go about doing it. And we're going to have a special kind of show that night. I haven't even told Butters about it yet. This was something that was kindly suggested to me. And we'll talk about that later. And once we have all the details and all the pieces in place, we'll properly announce it. Hopefully we can announce it next week or by the 9th. And then we're in November, and we'll rock and roll. We'll talk about November. Gobble. Yeah, we'll talk about all of that come November.
International
Butters,
Fat Man Month.
Right. Do you have anything for me?
Let me see real quick, because usually I always like to do my screenshots through the week. I like to do my typical, is there something we need to discuss? And I don't think I've seen anything this week.
So I made a promise. I made a promise to Joey DiBardino. He commented earlier this week on one of my posts wanting to hear a Disney recap, right? For those of you that don't know, we weren't on the air last week because I was in Disney.
Lucky bastard.
But I was in Disney because I turned 30 in December, and I can't travel in December. So this was my birthday trip. And my first trip to Disney in 10 years. And what was really cool about it is I haven't done Disney as an adult. Last time I went, I was like 18, 19 years old. Doesn't mean shit in Disney, right? Yeah, you're technically an adult, but doesn't mean shit in Disney. But getting to drink around the world, and even that was, I did some of that. I didn't do a whole lot of that. But, a friend of mine went with me. It was her first time in Disney. So it was very, very cool. And I love that. I love taking people places for their first time because it gives you such a better appreciation for things. Like when I took you to your first wrestling event, right?
Yeah.
I had such a better appreciation for it because I was kind of used to it. I was numb to it, right? Taking her there and going, okay, you do this, and just watching her reaction to things was incredible. Also, the Rise of the Resistance ride. Fuck that, it's not a ride, it's an experience. It was like a 20 Butters, it was like a 20-minute experience, start to finish. And when I tell you it is the greatest thing I've ever done on Disney property, it is the greatest thing I've ever done on Disney property.
See, that's why I want to go so bad.
Well, I've already said I'm going in. I'm going to try to go in February and October of this next year. So once I start laying the foundations of things, you know, we'll talk and we'll see if we can't get you out to Disney too. Okay. But no, it was incredible. I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail because nobody really gives that much of a shit. But I did promise Joey I'd bring it up, right? And so I don't lie to people. You know, I bring it up. But it was incredible. I had a blast. It was great to disconnect. It put a lot of things in perspective for me on so many different levels, and I'm very happy with it. But let's sign off. Let's get out of here. We do have to thank Body Check Wellness. Use promo code HUD for 25% off. I'm sorry, your order at bodycheckwellness.com. Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy. Check him out on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com, or Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. The Counseling Center and Sunrise Detox. If you need help with mental health or addiction, call 856-651-8117. Alan Foy at eXp Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, give him a call at 302-682-8820, or check him out at alan.foy of exprealty.com. Manscaped, get 20% off and free shipping with the code HUD at manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. And then, guys, what are you doing? $9.99 a month gets you a membership on YouTube, on HUD Radio's YouTube page. You get appearances on shows, members-only streams, shout-outs, and the weekly sports picks from Money Pot Podcast. Football season is back. In fact, it is Dallas week here at HUD Radio. Monday night, Eagles, Dallas, Monday Night Football.
Dallas
so why not completely agree. Why not use the money that you earned from Nate Moss and his picks over there at the Money Pot Podcast to pay for your HUD membership? Why not? Right? Every single week, guys are making money because Nate's got the right information. I reached out to him right before I went to Disney, and I was like, "Yo, dude, this is what I want. I want to know more." And so I've been going back and listening to his stuff, and the man's very knowledgeable. So every Sunday, hell, like 12 hours from now, actually, those guys are on the air, and those guys are going to be talking about all the best picks for the week coming up, for what their picks from last week did. So make sure you guys are checking them out every single Sunday. But like I said, guys, it is Dallas week here at HUD Radio. Definitely make sure that you guys are checking us out every single night, every single week. For Two Live Brew, George Cannon Brew. For Butters, I'm Rich. We're going to get out of here. We will see you guys next week right here on HUD Radio. Enjoy the draft. Peace, love, and joy. We out.